A little bit different today. It's an ad hoc stream. I don't normally stream today, but I wanted to try and do something before we hit Richmond, which is, at the time of this recording, the day after tomorrow. I was originally planning on going, but long story short, I'm not. I have other plans. We're going to see how things go. But tonight, I have a snack. I got some water. And we're going to watch the VOD from last night's locals because there's a number of people who reached out to me about a few different decks that were there, how to play them, including one of these players that we're going to see, and they wanted commentary on their play. So we're going to go through, I'm going to try and break these down, see what we can learn from them, and hopefully my crunching on my Doritos isn't too terrible for you. Apologies in advance, I'm just very hungry. So we're going to run through. Probably not going to do all the games tonight. This is a 2-hour video because a lot of these games were before the actual event. So we'll jump in here and see what we got. So my format for this is going to be, let's talk about the matchup first. This is Quinlan Tarkentown into Sabine ECL. Now, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on this stuff. I like to think I'm fairly knowledgeable, but I don't know every matchup inside and out. I don't play all of them. In my opinion, I would put this in Sabine favored. I think that anytime you see a 25 health base across the board as Sabine, you're probably pretty happy. The difference between getting to 25 damage versus 30 damage, or now potentially 35 damage, is dramatic. And I think that while Quinlan does have tools, it is going to be very difficult for them to get ahead. Having played the Sabine side of this, it actually shocked me how often, or how easy it was, put it differently, how easy it was to just pass claim sort of sequence until like the Sabine flip turn, and you don't care. And that's assuming that you don't have a 3-5 to play on turn 2, Sundari or Cassian Andor. So we'll jump in and see how the two players here actually handle this. Hopefully I paused this with enough time. We didn't get to see what they rode, but we do see a Cassian in hand for our Sabine player. And they do appropriately, I'm going to pause real quick, they do appropriately ping, because while you can pass claim sort of thing, you do want to try and get something on the board if they let you. So how would that happen? Well, if you ping and then they go, okay, well, I'm just going to panic and play a guy, which you can't necessarily assume is going to happen at all skill levels, but like, let's say they just play a guy. Okay, that's fine. If they pass back to you, you could then pass end the phase or claim end the phase. But at least you pushed a little bit of damage and brought them closer. What's likely to happen is they will play a body because they are kind of the aggro in this matchup early on. Like they can't let you get to Wrecker, because if you do, that's going to end the game for you. So point is, good action 1 from our Sabine player. So our Quinlan player also appropriately plays out their own Sabine unit, and we're going to see a space start for Sabine. This, I think, is probably where you want to be as Sabine. The Falcon is a risk, but they have less space than you, and the Falcon is the only one that's really going to do anything right out of the gate. Of course, they are going to be able to Tarkentown, or potentially Tarkentown, just play a 2-drop ping the A-Wing, but at least it's going to get something on the board in a lane that they're not already presenting a threat in. All right, so we're going to go for Chewie. I like and don't like this. Again, the Falcon is the big issue here if something happens on that front, because how else are they going to deal with this? Bamboozle. Okay, so here's the thing. I do expect a lot of main deck bamboozles for a variety of reasons. There are still pilot leaders. Personally, I think Vader's in a great spot. There are a variety of, out of Sabine, we're going to see Darksabers and things like that. Plus, it is a great tool to maybe just, hey, your Han, I'm going to tap your Han down, something like that. It's a very versatile card. It's a draw 2 game, so the discard is almost meaningless. Have to kind of fill the silence as our other players debating. So what do we want to see as Quinlan here? There we go. It's the Falcon. So the Falcon here does mean that you can trade into that Chewie. And we'll see if our Quinlan player does it. They should. Because otherwise, as I meant, like, you can't waylay that thing. You have very little other interaction for it. And if you get hit twice, I am of the opinion you have lost the game. You haven't literally lost it, but if you take 12 from Chewie, you're just dead, right? Like, that's just too much damage. Already, you're at 7. The board will be clear going into the next turn, so that is a big advantage. However, because you lost the Falcon, you're not continuing to keep things on board, meaning that your coordinate is still another unit off. I guess technically Sabine plus Hero Deploy plus Quinlan is, or Plo Koon is sufficient, but we're going to get the Tarkin Town here. I think that, yeah, that's a medal ceremony in hand. So, okay, I do remember talking to this player after the game was played, and they had admitted that they just completely forgot about the Tarkin Town potential. And the issue, so they swung in with the A-Wing. We can go back and see here exactly how the sequence. So we get Chewie played into the A-Wing. Then we ultimately see the Falcon come down. Then there's an attack. Then the Falcon attack. Then we could have gotten the medal ceremony, which pushes the A-Wing Chewie combo out of range of Tarkin Town. It is susceptible to another ping, but that means that either you need to eat that attack next turn, because obviously first action from our Sabine player is going to be swing in, or you have to do it now and then give them initiative, and you eat the attack from the A-Wing anyway. So I think that would have been worth it, playing that medal ceremony, but again, this player had mentioned that they just totally forgot about that potential. So in the end, we end up with a board state that is about as favorable, I think, as Quinlan could hope for in this particular stage. I wish the bases were double-sided so that you could just flip your Tarkin Town to the other side to indicate that it's been used. FFG, what are you doing? We obviously have double-sided cards. You could have made the bases double-sided. At least these bases. But then you can't sell people epic action markers. Or you sell them less, I guess. So our Sabine player ultimately has initiative here, and they're trying to debate what to row. We did see it look like a Wrecker medal ceremony. They're leaning a little too far back, and I can't see what the cards are. But you're going to deploy Sabine. If you have the Saber, I think you go for it. There is the Bamboozle potential. But the Plo Koon stop is a turn away. Oh yeah, there was a Cassian in hand. We did see that earlier. Which maybe there's an argument to go for the Cassian on turn 2 instead of the Chewie. But I think saying, all right, stop me. Yes, it can get bamboozled. I don't know that. So I guess let's talk about this. So if you play the Chewie and it immediately gets bamboozled by discarding a card in hand, while they are set back a bunch of turns, it means that they're going to be up 2 units to your 0 as a Sabine player. And I think you're in a big enough hole there from a race perspective that you're not going to, like, they're going to beat you to the finish line. So it might be incorrect to go eggs all in one basket like that. Even ignoring the whole Falcon play like we were just seeing and like the medal ceremony thing. I'm kind of leery of doing that. That being said, main deck, how many Bamboozles are they going to run? 2? Assuming they're even main decking at all. They could be, like, I can't wait till I hear people go, oh, well, what if they disabling Fang Fighter or something? And it's like, then they just lose, probably. I don't know. It does not seem like... I would not worry about that sort of stuff game 1. Even game 2, I don't know that that's something to be necessarily concerned about. I mean, if the potential's there, because they might be trying to fight Darksabers post-board, so therefore it's more likely, and therefore they have more, quantity-wise, more answers to Chewy. I get it. I just wanted to try and walk through that for a moment. So we do get the Cassian play. This obviously signals no Darksaber. We have an Ahsoka. Well, that Metal Ceremony is probably pretty good right now. Yeah, that's probably... Now, there is an argument to potentially... It looks like that's maybe a For a Cause as the other card, For a Cause Wrecker. So at this point, there's 8 damage. You're going to be at 11 as a Quinlan player. Realistically, you're at 14. Say another 4 from... And this is the math that the Quinlan player has to do. So you're at 8, plus 3 this turn, puts you at 11. You're going to take at least 3, even if you remove one of these, like first action Plo Koon or something. That means that you're going to eat another 3 damage, so that puts you at 14. Then, if they go... You have to start counting because ECL's still live. Either ECL Poe or ECL Wrecker. And if it's ECL Wrecker, well, that's a turn later. So we'll say, if you account for Cause and Wrecker, Wrecker's going to represent probably 5 damage. Because you're going to deploy your leader, they're going to Wrecker, and they're going to blow them up. So that puts you at 19. That means you can't take more than 5 damage over the next 3 turns, probably. Because you're not going to kill them in 2. You're going to need that 3rd turn, at least in action, to probably get there. Again, just kind of thinking out loud here. Wait, what did I miss here? Oh, okay. Yeah, this was the turn he played the Cassian. I'm like, why did the Ahsoka tap the Cassian? That's not how that card works, but it was already tapped because it got played. It just got played this turn. So yeah, Sabine gets in, obviously. The race is on at this point, and I think I was watching this game, because this one seems familiar. I don't know that there's a way for Quinlan to get out of this. I wasn't aware that the Wrecker Fasibi was in hand, but it's just a lot of potential pressure that's going to require multiple turns, multiple actions to really get there. And we got to remember that 6 number, really 5, for damage coming in. It's possible that Quinlan could play, like at this point in the game, if you're able to squeeze in a spark or something in order to strip away those Fasibis, strip away those Wreckers, that sort of thing, maybe. I've played this more from the Sabine side. I haven't tested a ton of Quinlan, I gotta be honest. So it looks like Fleet Battlefield. That's pretty good resource 5 turn. All right, I can't make out what that card is because of the glare. This will be a problem going forward. They just got a new store, and I'm trying to figure out how to reduce the glare. But given that it's 5 resources, yeah, this is a Plo Koon. Now that I can kind of tell now. So Plo Koon's gonna smoke Sabine. I don't know that you want to kill the Sabine. So the argument here is you kill Sabine so that they can't slam a Darksaber, but if they had a Darksaber, they would have played it last turn. Doesn't mean that they didn't draw into it this turn. The reason you don't necessarily want to kill Sabine is it does reactivate the ping. And every life point matters at this stage. So we have a fleet that's going to result in 5 damage. This is something I want to see at the end of the game. Does that 2 damage matter? Like, could our Quinlan player have lived and maybe won the game if that didn't happen? So we'll see how our Quinlan player decides to play this, because there is an argument that you just need to go for it. And if you don't, you're not going to get there. Also, I will comment, if you question why there was a commandeer over there, these were not tournament games, this was beforehand, and they were just testing games. So the commandeer was supposed to be Bamboozle, and that probably would have mattered earlier in this game. All right, so Sabine is going to trade here. Battlefield Marine. So I don't love the Sabine trade. Like, you ultimately would have ended up with something similar to this. The reason why I don't love it is you could have just eaten the unit with Ahsoka. You're going to deploy your leader. So, like, the Sabine player plays Battlefield Marine. That means you deploy your leader, and then you just kill the Marine if you're going with this plan. And then you end up with 3 units on the board, and they only have Cassian. Now, we know that the Sabine player has Wrecker because we saw it. But if they have Wrecker, they're going to run over any of your guys anyway. It doesn't matter. And if they choose to blow one of them up, well, you've killed their board anyway. Point is, I don't think you needed to lose the Sabine. Secondly, let's assume for the moment that instead of clearing stuff out, so there is still, say, well, the Plo Koon kills Sabine. Let's say there's still a fleet lieutenant and there's still a Battlefield Marine on the board. I said a couple minutes ago that you needed to not take 5 damage. How long does that's going to take 2 actions based on the things that are on the board. So this hypothetically was 9 damage that could have been on Energy Conversion Lab, which right now they're at 7, so then they're at 16. And if you did 9 from a Plo Koon, they are just dead. Like, literally dead. Because you surprise strike it next turn. Given that the Wrecker's there, you wouldn't be able to do that because the Wrecker's obviously going to, or like could hypothetically run over Plo Koon or just blow it up and then run over something else. If you're playing around that, do you still give up the 9? Because then you could have surprise strike and a gun, which is 5 damage plus the 6 from your various units. That's 11. Because right now we're at 16. I think you're better off not killing their guys. Now, I haven't played the Quinlan side of it a lot. But if you're at 16 damage right now as the Quinlan player right here. 5, 10, 15, 16. If you put 9 on them and also put them at 16, now we're like in a game. Whereas right now it's going to take you, like, you have to alpha strike 2 more turns, 1 turn after they've had the opportunity to Wrecker. I think your best opportunity here is to go for the throat. Now, I could be wrong, but at least that's where my mind's at. And like I said, I haven't played a ton of Quinlan, so maybe that's completely off base. Quinlan players tell me otherwise. And now the big debate comes. I mean, it's probably, I'm assuming our Quinlan players deciding whether they want to clear out or put damage on the Cassian, which is going to do nothing. I think the issue here is our Quinlan player, and again, I could be completely wrong. And if somebody wants to educate me on the Quinlan side of this relationship, I am all ears. But I think this is a matter of playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Where we can't, or we haven't really seen what our Quinlan player has in hand. So maybe they knew they had no surprise. Oh, we're getting a look here. It looks like a Force Choke, a Falcon Elite, Crafty Smuggler, and some other card I can't recognize. So they don't look like they have any pumps, is the point. Can't tell what that middle card is. Well, they're rowing it anyway. But if they don't have any pumps, they're in danger of not getting there anyway, so maybe this is the appropriate line. I think no matter what, you kind of have to hope that they don't have Wrecker, because otherwise you're just smoked anyway. So the big thing here is if they don't have Wrecker, you might be fine, but you are 100% going to have to remove the Cassian and probably remove every single thing they play from here on out, which makes your sequencing weird. It makes everything really weird. So we're force choking. Force choking the Sabine player, which I don't love. Our Sabine player has multiple cards in hand. I don't think there's anything like... They're not going to pitch anything that's going to kill the Cassian unless they're holding double Wrecker. So Wrecker at this stage, what does that mean? It means a dead... means a dead Quinlan player. Is what it means. So let's say that our Quinlan player put them up to 16 at the start of this turn. So our Sabine player attacked. Oh, and then you answered with the force throw. So if they were at 16, you attack, put them to 19. No, you would. If they were at 16, you attack, put them to 22. Like, wait a second. Hold on. They start the turn at 16. You have coordinate, so they attack. You attack with Plo Koon. We're talking, when I say you, we're saying the Quinlan player. You attack with Plo Koon. That puts them at 22. They Wrecker. They are forced to hit Ahsoka and run over Quinlan. Are they? Yeah, they are, because you'll kill them on the next action, which means that you take 0 damage and you can just claim. I think this is a throw by the Quinlan player. So we didn't even actually need... Like, I did count that right? Let's go back a second. We got nothing but time. So they're at 7. You put 9 on them. That puts them at 16. Then we jump ahead to this point, or roughly this point. And the assumption here is that there are 2 more 3-power guys on the board. So that means... Now, this may have been a different sequence then, because if you are the Sabine player, as it is right now, it may be correct to get him with the Quinlan, or with the Cassian, because there's a risk that it dies, and then you lose out on the damage, and then you can't quite get there this turn. However, if you have 2 more guys, maybe you play the Wrecker first, because there's no way they're killing all of them, and then you can just blow up the Plo Koon, and you're never in danger. Because then they have Sabine, Ahsoka, Quinlan. You probably kill... You run over something. So you're at 19. You'd be at 21. Yeah, so if this turn, I know this is getting confusing, but let's assume for the moment that our Sabine players at 17 because Quinlan just swung in last turn. And then that means that there are 2 more units, the Battlefield Marine and the Fleet Lieutenant, on the Sabine player's side. Sabine player has initiative, so they should action 1 Wrecker. They're going to blow up something, probably Plo Koon with the damage. And then you're going to ambush over one of the other things. It doesn't matter. They're all basically the same health. Probably the Ahsoka, that seems to be the lowest health. That is 2 remaining as compared to Sabine's 3. Sabine unit. Remember the one that got traded in a couple turns ago. So that puts you at, took 3, 21. You'd be at 22. 15, 19. Take 2 more, 21. And then you take 1 more. No, I don't think you take the 1 more. So would you be at 22? Trying to keep it. So you'd be at 21 or 22. Because I need to see, what were you at before the Cassian attack? Okay, so you were at 16. You take the 5 from the Wrecker Overwhelm. That puts you at 21. The reason that matters is that means you can soak a hit from any of the 3 power guys on the board. Plo Koon's dead. Other 3 attack guys dead. Sabine player's at 16. You attack for 3 at 19. And then say Quinlan's the remaining unit. You probably, like, we don't know what's in our Quinlan player's resource row because we didn't see all of the cards, but we know, we can see their hand here, that they don't have a pump. And even if they did, the only one that would be available this turn down there would be Hotshot Blaster, and that means that you would come up 1 damage short. Because you could go attack, they respond with attack, you pump. If you had Surprise Strike, you kill them. I think that puts you in a better position to win than the defensive line. Because, like, our Quinlan player is a million miles from winning this game right now. Like, even if the record didn't come down, say they played other guys. Like, they played that K2 that got blown up or something. You're just not in a great spot here because you're already at, well, you'd be at 19, 20, air quotes, because of the Sabine ping. You may be able to stabilize, but since ECL is live, Poe or Wrecker is a big problem. And then the ping's adding on to it, and a Cassian out of the row or something, Fasibi off the top. There's a lot of things that can help them close the gap without even having a board position. Again, maybe I'm playing Quinlan completely wrong. Maybe this is not the appropriate way to approach it, but I think that you need to try and go for the throat on the previous turn to set up more options to close the game out here. You would need a Surprise Strike if they opened Wrecker, but given the sequence that happened, and again, we don't know if the Sabine player would have played it differently. That was what that whole hypothetical was. But if the Sabine player decided to lead with a 3-attack guy and then go, oh, well, I'll finish them with Wrecker, you might kill them before it happens. Because you get the Plo Koon attack. But odds are they would never give you the Plo Koon attack. So, obviously this game is over. GG. So, game 2 between these players. This is air quotes game 2. They're doing this all pre-board. I know, I'm pretty sure the Sabine player is going to Richmond, so they wanted to, try and test a bunch of games. Again, this is all before the event, but it was at locals. As I was discussing earlier, I'm fairly certain that this is Sabine favored. Like, if I was playing Sabine, out of the whole room of options, I don't think I would be upset sitting down across from Quinlan. Assuming you had to pick, like, tier 1 stuff as opposed to, oh, well, I'd like to sit across from a Bo-Katan or something. Actually, I don't know if Bo-Katan's a good matchup for Sabine. It might not be. I don't. Talk about things that no one put in the effort. Well, not no one. Actually, a lot of people put in the effort to test, but that's neither here nor there. So our Quinlan player presumably is passing. Actually, no, they shouldn't be passing. They probably just gave initiative to Sabine. Trying to figure out where the initiative token is, but it is there. And it is on the Sabine player. So they're making him go first. And I think I walked past when this was happening, and the players were kind of staring at each other. He's like, yeah, actually, you have initiative, which I think is correct for Quinlan. Yep. They're figuring this out literally right now. I think it is correct for Quinlan to say, you go first. Because there's the potential that the Sabine player doesn't do this. And if they don't, you might even be able to catch them 2 games in a row. You can't really rely on that when you go to a PQ or a sector or a regional, but, I mean, it could happen. Now, I don't like this opener. What is... Now, oh, all right. So we'll see what they take. But before we... Because I'm assuming they're not immediately just reaching for that Fleet Lieutenant. They're just kind of like spacing the cards out so they could see it. So that looks like Sabine, Fleet Lieutenant, K2SO, question mark, and then Wrecker. So let's assume that... Is that the case? I would not take that. So, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But if you're sparking turn 1, that tells me that your hand is not very good. If you are the Quinlan player into Sabine. You really don't want to play Spark. You want to build your board position. As I said, you're kind of the aggro deck. You need to close the game out before that Wrecker that you now know exists and is available to them. They're not going to row it. Is there. So you got to close the game out. That means you want to play guys. But instead, you're sparking. All right, fine. Maybe that's what you had. I skipped past whether they mulligan, so whatever. Why not take the turn 1 play and blanket so that it's just... Because, as I mentioned before, Sabine is fine with pass or pass claim. Because their later game is better than Quinlan's. So that reinforces the idea that you don't want to spark and, air quotes, do nothing on turn 1. In my opinion, it is worse if you're going to give them a body and you're down a body. Like, that would... Imagine if you're playing against Sabine and they get to go, okay, I play Sabine unit, excuse me. They play Sabine unit, and then you just claim. That's not good, right? That's basically what happened here. I don't like that. Oh, wait, hold on. You haven't... No, you have 100%. Don't do this. Don't do this. Play that Crafty Smuggler. There's a Crafty Smuggler in our Quinlan player's hand. Put that puppy on the board. Put that puppy on the board. You can't... No. No bueno. And again, I'm not a Quinlan player. Quinlan players, feel free to correct me, but that just does not seem correct. So there's damage on both bases, admittedly 1. There's a Sabine on the board. We're going into turn 2. Quinlan presumably has initiative. Actually, it looks like they passed. So that way our Sabine player has to act first. But in this case, it's not really... I mean, it might matter, but the Sabine unit probably just attacks. It looks like a metal ceremony got added. That is an alliance... Oh, no, that's a Rebel Assault, maybe? Yeah, I think that's a Rebel Assault, and then an Alliance X-Wing, which has been kind of creeping back into lists, given the prevalence of Chewie. I get it, you want to have maximum options to get Chewie in a ship. And clearly we're just going to swing in. This was the problem. Like, that damage... So, okay, hold on. We know there's a Crafty Smuggler in our Quinlan player's hand. And we know that they, like, you saw the hand before. So you knew what was there. And Wrecker was the only, so they clearly drew Alliance X-Wing and Rebel Assault, meaning they rode the K2, which I'm not in love with, but that's neither here nor there right now. At least, they probably did this because, A, I'm not going to row Wrecker. I need a play this turn, because they took the Fleet Lieutenant, so I'm not going to play K2. And Rebel Assault is just absolutely busted in virtually every matchup. So I'm not getting rid of those. So I take it back. Like, I don't hate this. It just feels bad. Quinlan or K2 is clearly pretty good into Quinlan. They got to bounce it, and otherwise it's bad news for them. But I don't really love the idea of going Spark, especially to open it up. The reason for that is, again, they already have a threat on the board. Like, I'm not going to say this game is over, but it kind of feels like this game is over. I don't know how you claw out of this as the Quinlan player, because you're not playing a guy until Resource 4. Heaven forbid that the Sabine player goes Resource open with flip Sabine, and you have Sabine, and it's like, if they have a Saber, I'm just dead, right? Like, because you have to deal with the Sabine leader, or it goes there, and if you do, you stick it on the other Sabine, and then you got to wait a turn to waylay or something. Like, you're just in a horrendous spot. But maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. So we're going to get rid of Rebel Assault. I also don't agree with this. Because if you take the X-Wing, they have no play this turn. It's the same mistake, in my opinion, as turn 1. You take the thing they can do right now, unless it's a card that you can't deal with. You know, like, you're not going to lose. This is more a general matchup thing. But, like, say, I think of a good example right now, but, like, card X. Card X in this matchup, you 100% lose to it if they play it on curve, and you spark and you see it. There's an argument to take that, because unless you think the game's going to end before then, you don't want to just guarantee to lose the game, right? Pretty self-explanatory. Option 2 is just take whatever they're playing this turn, because then they can't play it. It blanks that you've Time Walk. Like, Time Walk is a restricted card in Magic. It's one of the weaker Power 9 comparatively, but, like, it's still Power 9. Take another turn. You have Time Walked your opponent by taking that. Our Sabine player does nothing after that. Like, what are they going to do? Rebel Assault? You're going to Rebel Assault to tap Sabine? I kind of get it. It's 2 damage, but still. All right, so where were we? Oh yeah, the Sparks. No bueno. Don't like them. And we know that there were other plays that could have been made on both Spark turns, so I don't like either of these plays. So we'll continue to see if our Quinlan player can salvage it. My guess is no. One thing to point out here, as they're getting ready for the next turn, from this board state, you have to assume you're taking minimum 9 damage. Probably 12 over the course of this turn and next turn, because it's going to be 6. Or actually, no, excuse me, because I was counting the Alliance X-Wing as 3 instead of 2. So it's 5 this turn, plus the Sabine is 8. Then, say you kill off one of the Sabines. It's another 5, so that's 13. If I counted right. Never do math on stream, but you get the idea. You want to multi-count the different units, depending on what your hand is. Like, if you put yourself in the Quinlan player's shoes, what are the things that you will likely be able to remove? What are your likely plays? And then try and map out how much damage are they going to do, which will inform you how many more turns do you have in this game to try and make something happen or not happen. Now, unfortunately for Quinlan, they're kind of smoked anyway. Nothing they did mattered, because Sabine top decked another Rebel Assault. That's absolutely brutal. Like, the action condensing is kind of the big problem. Although, I guess since it's a deploy turn, it doesn't matter as much. Now, this was kind of a risk on our Sabine player's side. While they were able to push the damage, while I love the action condensing from Rebel Assault, that's one of my favorite things. I mean, obviously the pump is relevant too, but the action condensing is huge. The issue is it did put you down to 1 card in hand. Your opponent, for better or worse, has been on a discard plan that you might be able to assume that their hand was discard heavy, so they're like, well, this is my best shot. I'm going to go for it. And hitting the Fasibi is pretty big for them, especially at this stage. I don't know that it's going to matter. Maybe you play the Fasibi first, like open Fasibi, or maybe attack with one guy sort of thing. They're only on resource 4, so they're very limited in how they can immediately remove something. I don't hate the open Rebel Assault, to be honest. And it's probably the best line. I just wanted to kind of walk through like what the other potentials were. But at this stage, we're looking at, you're already at 16 damage. Sabine is on the board. So resource 5, big things to keep in mind. Cassian Andor, smuggle. Since ECL's still live, there could be a Poe. Since ECL's still live, if they don't do it this turn, then that means Wrecker's coming down. There is still the lurking threat of a Darksaber, which clearly our Quinlan player was trying to avoid in the previous game. There's still a lot of terrible things that Sabine can do to you, and I don't know how you, especially since they're in both arenas. It's not even, oh, we're consolidated in one arena. So you absolutely have to find a Falcon to deal with the X-Wing, or say a Waylay or something. But you need a unique answer compared to what you're going to be doing in the other lane. I will say that the Hyperspace Ahsoka did look pretty sick in real life. It doesn't look great here. I said I was going to try and not eat while we were going over the game, but whoops. So we're on Resource 5. This should be action to our Quinlan player. Everybody's been very lazy about moving the initiative tokens. And I don't mean just this game, like in general. So, oh man, hold on. All right, so it looks like there's an Ezra and a Sabine in hand. That might be another Ahsoka. So it looks like it's Ahsoka, Sabine. There was an Ezra underneath, and then I can't tell what this card is. I want to say a Falcon, but we'll see. The main reason I bring it up is the implication here is that they could have played all those cards on the other turns. Oh no, that's a Waylay. Oh boy. Definitely should have played some of these other cards on the other turns. You really do need to get the Quinlan pings into the Tarkin town so that you can get that playing from the bully position set up when you're playing as Quinlan. If you do not, this is what we're looking at. So we do know that there is a pew pew in the row. Quinlan's, he's got the Glock down there. I don't know what you do as a Quinlan player because your hand is like a lot of non-interaction. And yeah, they're scooping it up. This one, I think the lesson here is if you're going to open discard, take their turn 1 play. That Sabine, this Sabine was played on turn 1. So it would have attacked 3 times. That's 9 damage. That's a lot when you're talking only a 25 health base. But imagine, for a moment, if either the Crafty Smuggler got played, or when you sparked, you took the Sabine. So you're at 16 right now. Imagine if you're at 10 instead. Now, it changes the scope of the game because, yes, there still would have been a Fleet Lieutenant. There still would have been whatever the hell the other card that he discarded was, the other Spark. But I think that you're putting yourself in progressively more complex and difficult to play out of scenarios. The way I look at it is this. If you played RTSs like Warcraft or StarCraft, especially StarCraft, for this analogy at least, because of the way that the game is structured, it is heavily economy-based. Your workers are super important. And one of the most important things you can learn when you first start playing is to never miss workers and to never get supply block, especially early in the game, because it has far-reaching ramifications where it's how much of your economy is hurt because in the first 30 to 45 seconds, oops, I missed a worker, and that worker could have been mining for like 20 minutes by the end of the game. Obviously, other things would have come into play and changed the scope of it, but falling behind and even adding 10 seconds onto when you place a building or when you recruit a unit causes serious issues because maybe that one unit makes or breaks a battle. Maybe that building being in place means that you get an upgrade, which gets you something else in the next fight. And by being 10 seconds behind, 20 seconds behind, 30, however long, it causes far-reaching problems. And the earlier it is in the game, the more things it impacts, because obviously the rest of the game is still ahead of you. It's the same thing here, where if you make the incorrect play on turn one, it's costing you throughout the game. And given that this game is only 4 turns, because they scoop it up after this, but that Sabine unit is representing 9 damage, that's a significant portion. Imagine just starting the game at 16 health into Sabine ECL. It's a bad time, right? Well, there you go. And now for something a little different. We're going to be looking at Vader Yellow versus Sabine. The Sabine player is the same person before. The Vader pilot is the Quinlan player from earlier. I'll probably break these up into different videos, I think. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll do one big one and then people get very intimidated by like, oh, this is a 3-hour video. But maybe I'll break it up. We'll see. But regardless, so I have been personally piloting Vader Yellow, and I think I sold this guy on it. If I was going to Richmond day after tomorrow, well, I was playing at Richmond day after tomorrow, don't want to be traveling the day of, but I would 100% be on Vader. And the way I put it offline was it would be 98% Vader Yellow, 2% Vader Blue. In the literally last few hours, I've been getting sold on, on Vader Blue more, because it does seem to solve a lot of the problems that I've been having with Vader Yellow, which is specifically surrounding blue-green hero. Maybe I shouldn't worry about that matchup, but anyway. I think this matchup is, and I hesitate to say this, but heavily favored in Vader Yellow's favor. I think Vader Blue struggles a little bit more, but that's not what we're going to talk about right now. The reason I hesitate to say that is it's very difficult for me to say that anything is heavily favored into Sabine. And the reason for that is, at the end of the day, it's still the best aggro deck. It can still just brutally slaughter you. So, oops, I'm dead because my mulligan was bad or something like that. Like, that happens. So, you need to mulligan appropriately to find the tools to fight them. No good to me deads, capture ships, Geonosis patrol fighter, potentially waylays, stuff to interact with them while massing your army, and then you just bludgeon them with either a goon squad, clone combat squadron, or Vader, or both. Additionally, I think a lot of Sabine players don't realize that they need to just ECL, like literally turn 1. Hard mulligan for space, ECL, eat their first ship so that they aren't building up an army very quickly, and then just kind of move on from there. Because if you can keep the swarm from ever hitting that critical mass, you can probably, like you ECL turn 1, turn 2, play a guy on the ground, maybe trade your first spaceship into whatever they have left, that sort of thing, or vice versa. And you're probably fine. Probably. Because from playing the Vader side of the equation, A, a lot of people don't do that. B, even if you do, there are worlds where I can still rebuild. Most of the time, it takes multiple sweepers to stop the Vader deck. So you need to simultaneously keep it under control, but balance pressuring them so that you aren't giving them time to rebuild everything. Because realistically, even if you wipe my board, if I play a clone combat squadron and I live to deploy Vader in it, it's hitting you for minimum 10, probably more, because I'll play other stuff that turn. You have a 25 health base. Like, you're not going to live that long. So you need to see sabers and you need to see space. Dark sabers, I mean. So let's see what happens here. Just getting a little double check on the leader here. Just figuring out our our resource decisions. It looks like our Vader player is going to start with the initiative. So if they start with the initiative, there are multiple ways to do this. Kijimi Patrollers here, getting 2 ties is fine. Clearly vulnerable to the potential ECL play, because then it cleans up both of these trivially. Or you ECL into the real card, the Patroller, rather than the token. And then the A-Wing or whatever is still around for the next turn to eat the next real thing. If you open multiple 1-drops and they ECL, they're still going to be able to clear both. So you're just down cards kind of no matter what. If you open Star Hopper, it's a 2/3, so it still dies to A-Wing. Like, bottom line is, like, all these things are going to die. So you need to sequence set up your mulligan in the sense of, like, you want to be looking for a hand that allows you to have the turn 1 play. Hope that they either misplay or don't have it. Hope the Sabine player doesn't have it. And then continue to follow up, ideally with, say, like, a Victor Leader. Because then your token's a 2/2. And if they now, like, they're kind of forced to trade into it. Otherwise, you're representing 4 damage in space, 6 over 2 turns, and your Victor Leader won't die. And then Clone Combat Squadron, and then, etc. The important thing, though, is you need to get rid of that first real unit so that they can't, because here's the problem. Our Vader player went Kijimi Patrollers. Our Sabine player played Battlefield Marine. Great. If I first action capture ship, that could put you in a really awkward spot. I don't think I would. I would attack. I need to draw things out because A, I would rather capture your turn 2 play. B, if you just ECL an A-Wing or something into the capture ship, that's going to feel terrible. So, you want to dirtle as the Vader player as often as possible. So we're getting a punch it here that kind of explain, like, it informs a lot about their hand. They clearly don't have Victor Leader, or that would have come out to play. They clearly don't have a variety of different things. But we are seeing a Sabine's masterpiece here, which is brutal. That is not what you want to see as the Vader player. And is a decent reason to not ECL on turn 1. However, are we seeing the ECL? I guess we are, because we're getting some, yeah. I saw the XP token come out first. I think splitting it here is probably correct. You're going to have time to maybe put another counter on it if you need to, in order to, say, reach to be able to get a Victor Leader or something, and then it would also tank the Victor Leader hit, etc. This also represents more damage on the ground, which now there's 2 threats that the Vader player has to care about, but we do get an Outland TIE Fighter. This grows the Kijimi Patrollers. But due to action economy, I don't think our Vader player is going to claim, and should they is the question. So they definitely did not claim. Without knowing their hand, so you could, as the Vader player, skip the token and then claim and immediately capture ship Sabine's tie. The Marine is a problem, but you can't let the tie continue to exist. That'll be a problem. Or you could claim Geonosis, claim whatever, because ECL's burned. So just get that thing out of there. A claim into Victor Leader isn't thrilling. But this is now, depending on your, the other alternative is if you have, you could try and bait them so that, like, oh, they get greedy, they kill one of your ties, so then they grow the Marine, and then you bounce the Marine or capture the Marine, something like that. But that kind of necessitates making the token this turn, because otherwise the capture ship won't be live. It's going to take too many actions, whatever. And then you still have to deal with the tie. It's going to depend on what the hand is. I don't like the turn, like the open punch it that happened. And honestly, I would rather have, like, open with the Outland tie. Or just attack with the Kijimi Patroller. Rather than burn the punch it. I just feel like you could then use the punch it to clear this thing out with a token. And you'd be much happier about that. So action is to our Sabine player. This is their deploy turn. You kind of have to have a No Good To Me Dead ready right now as the Vader player. Because Darksaber is one of the few ways that Sabine will actually be able to race you. True race you, barring bizarre circumstances. Rebel Assault is one of the other ones that isn't really a bizarre circumstance, but this is actually just brutal. So that's 4, 9. Wait, 9, 10, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total. These are the kind of things that the Sabine player needs to see in order to try and get this in their favor. Because now you need to deal with 3 unique threats. Admittedly, the Darksaber is not an option here. Wait, why did the tie? Oh, we're patrol fightering. We're bouncing that. So this is something that's going to require a lot of mapping out of the turn. So our Sabine player has 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 actions. And it's really a question of whether you want to dirtle or not as the Vader player. Because they can just replay the Sabine's tie. They could also obviously replay the Battlefield Marine. And it's a question of which one do you want to deal with on the next turn. So we're at 16. Probably going to get a Sabine deploy. Not enough resources to No Good To Me Dead, which is another reason that maybe you wanted to dirtle. So there's that looks like Sundari just got played. So there's a world where you want to generate a token so you can double exploit, bounce, whatever. Also potentially would have given you the option to bounce this Sundari that just got played, and it can't get replayed because you delayed the action. So, like, say you, instead of doing what already happened, you just swing the Outland tie into Sabine's tie, generate a token. Now you have 2 tokens and the Kijimi with experience. You could then exploit the tokens, like maybe even after attack, bounce their Sundari or the Marine, and then kind of go from there. You would probably be giving up initiative, and you're already at 19. But it would give you more resources to potentially play another card in hand, depending on what you have, because then the Geonosis would have only cost 1, meaning that No Good To Me Dead is live, another bounce could be live, a capture ship could be live. There's a lot of stuff that could potentially have happened differently. Again, without seeing their hand, there's maybe they're sitting on Barrage. I don't know, which Barrage this turn for 5 is not great. It's one of the weaknesses of the deck is that if you have to rely on Barrage, it's not going to be great until the Vader deploy on this version. With Iden, it's way better. It looks like we're getting a 3. It's a capture ship. So we're going to take the Marine, it looks like. Yeah, that's probably correct. It's just more damage. You're more concerned with dying than you are than you care about them prevent. It does matter, the relationship between their healing and your damage output. This is going to be another 5. That puts us, our Vader player at 24. 15, 19, 24. Yep. And now you're kind of cooked if you don't have the no good to me dead. This is what I was referring to with how the Sabine deck can just get there. So you have to claim here, because otherwise you're just dead, but there's realistically nothing you can do. Because you don't have enough actions to deploy Vader and then barrage, because you'll just die. And you're not going to alpha strike your way there because you're just dead in one action. So the big thing is, the Sabine Masterpiece play is brutal. I think it could have been sequenced better if you deal with the Masterpiece in a different way. But I don't know how much it would have mattered. So you would have taken 3 less. So you'd be at 24. And then it would be entirely contingent on whether you had a barrage in order to continue to fight the board. But you need to have ways to fight through their stuff. It is, you could argue it's an advantage of the blue version of the deck, because you do have access to Iden Pilot, which allows you to buff up, say, your turn 1 play, and then you're able to, by buffing up the turn 1 play, enable the Resource 5 barrage. There's basically no way to Resource 5 barrage in this deck efficiently. You're going to kill one thing at best. Like we saw it. You have Geonosis Patrol Fighter. You can do 5 damage. Well, who cares? That kills one guy that I probably already took damage from, and it doesn't even matter. Let alone doing like what you need it to do, which is blow up multiple things. So it's a tough spot to be in, but very well played by both players.